do a little bit more franchise. A little bit more franchise. Why not? To be able to get this team in a position to set them up for next season. We're at the point that Vidal Bruján's retiring at age 43. Bryson Stott's retiring. That's how far into this we are. God help me. Any Hall of Famers in 2040? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bryce Harper. That's how far into this we are. We've made the playoffs twice. Damn. So, let's handle the staff first. We need a new manager. Brian Harper would make a lot of sense. And again, the -2 bunting's not a great deal. Harper played 29 years. I didn't see what age he was when he retired. I didn't even notice. I'm too depressed. I mean, Mark Pryor. We had Mark Pryor as our manager before. Mario Jones has no outright negatives. Let's go for somebody like that instead. No trade-offs. I mean, Pryor really is a better fucking option, though, isn't he? Honestly, David Newell for the bunting. He'd be 48. LOL. Mario Jones. General boost. It's that, or we go for someone like Mark Pryor. It's a +6 overall. I'm going to go for David Newell. He is going to be expensive as all hell. Expensive as all hell. But maybe he's what we need to push us over the edge. We need a pitching coach. Anybody with no negatives? Greg Lynn. Let's bring Greg Lynn in. And then it was, what, a first base coach? Yeah. Is there anybody with no drastic negatives? We got Terrence Hayes. Doug Hawkins for that +2 stealing would be nice, given how aggressive we can be on the base pads with our more speedy lineup. So in terms of free agent negotiations, we have $64 million to work with. Jason Gill is not looking for that much money. And because of that, we will give him exactly what he wants of $13.4 million for the next 5 years up to age 35, maybe 34 with the player option. Chad Dean. We got to make a decision here for the 35-year-old. When he's been at the plate, he's been serviceable. How much money does he want? $7 million. We can't prioritize him, at least. Espinoza was awesome in the playoffs. Career ERA is a 3.4, a 119 whip, and a career FIP of a 419, which isn't amazing. He's very inconsistent. But he wants a cheap enough deal. He does want a cheap enough deal. We're also listed as contenders now, which is great. But I don't think I can justify giving Espinoza the term. It'll be a 1-year deal at 3.7. We'll see what he says. Howie Galloway is coming back. He's 35, so we can't give him too much money. 2-year deal at 9.4 with a player option. I'll have him listed as our closer, actually. It's still got to be a 2-year deal, though. I'm willing to give it to him. He was phenomenal in the playoffs. Scott Obama only wants about $2 to $3 million. That's not bad. And then Ray Nunez, our better catcher, wants 3 to 4. Okay, first and foremost, if we do some spring cleaning with this roster, right? Neither of our catchers are great. Neither of them are. We have people in the system. Ray Nunez has shown some bit of a power game, but he has never been amazing at the plate. Sung's been worse. I know Nunez isn't looking for that much. To me, that just feels like the guy to get rid of. Like, at this point, we're only holding on to him for the sake of, like, well, he's a higher overall. We might as well just have David Sung. Fishman will be on the Major League roster next year. Or Sato. We have these younger catchers who are just about ready, who can't do any worse than what Nunez has done. It is true. Nunez is 6'4", the other guy's 6'3". Fish is 6'5". We do have a deep prospect pool at catcher as well, yeah. Nunez is on a qualified offer, apparently. Or just, he's just listed as qualified. I think we're going to let Nunez go. I think we're going to let him go. We have plenty of other options in the pipeline at catcher. And he hasn't been that amazing that he's worth the $3 to $4 million. Even on a one-year deal to bring him back, it's like, why? He hasn't been great. Just because the overall is good does not mean that they're worth keeping, you know? At first base, Vince Messer stays, but holy shit, buddy, do you got to show up in the playoffs? I mean, everybody here stays, including Maurice Burnett. I mean, if we can keep this guy on roster year after year, we have all the contract control in the world. Why not? Second base, Scott Obama. Is pretty solid at second base when he plays, but Gutierrez had been playing there. He's still fast. He's still a speed threat. I think it's at least one more year for 44. I think it's at least one more year. It's $3.6 million, which isn't that bad. We could technically go 2 years. We'll go 2 years. Actually, that doesn't even drag it down by that much. Let's just go with the 3.6 and see if he takes it. Obama's coming back. Reyna's obviously going to stay. Ricky Gutierrez stays. Chad Dean. I know he's an 83. He's a pretty well-rounded player. He's okay at the plate when he actually plays. And there's Joe Dale behind him, who's in a very similar spot. How much money did he want? We're at $30 million right now. Yeah, Chad, I'm not giving you $78 million even for the year. Even for the year. Yeah, even on a one-year deal for Chad Dean, it's just... It's not worth it. He's not significantly better statistically than Joe Dale. I mean, what's the point? I mean, bring him back for the sake of bringing him back, I guess. Maybe we will, but... And Israel Gutierrez has 1 year left, apparently. We're in a weird spot. We're in a weird spot where we do have some players. Obama, Galloway, Espinosa. I mean, again, technically we can bring Nunez and Dean back because we can afford it. Is that a good enough reason to, though? Be 1 year, $8.5 million for Chad Dean. And then Nunez, let's say it's a 1 year deal worth 4.7. Brings us to $43 million in pending offers, so $21 million left to take care of everyone else. I mean, what's the point, you know? What's the cost of buying out Montanez? That is what I was going to check next. Because for the most part, I mean, McCann's not going anywhere. Gaucho, we kind of know what he is. But he signed for so little, it's like, why not keep him around? Rivas declining. And then not showing up in the playoffs, fresh off a new contract, scares me a little bit. $5 million this year, $2 million next year, 1.2 the year after for Rivas. Certainly wouldn't be saving, I mean, that much money short term, but it's the long term play. List doesn't go anywhere. There's really no money tied up in any of these guys. Hinios is on 1.3, 2.4 for Han, who immediately shit the bed. We could DFA a couple of guys just to see what happens. We could. We'd lose some overall team depth, but we would free up a little bit of cap space. And then Montana's is the big one at $19.4 million a season. Again, we signed him to a long-term deal because we didn't want to lose another starter, but he kind of stalled out, really. And has proven to be totally unreliable in the playoffs. Despite that high walks per 9, which is supposed to be overpowering. It's not. I think we DFA Montana's. I think we do. I just don't know what to do about Dean and about Nunez and if we want to do those deals. I think the biggest thing is that I'm struggling to want to get rid of people because of their overalls, even if they're underperforming and that we're covered. That's the biggest issue. Let's DFA Montana's. Riley's young enough that he stays. Dixon was good in the regular season, not so great in the playoffs. Hiller, same thing. Dyer was a bit rough in the playoffs, or a bit rough in the regular season, better in the playoffs. Trujillo was the inverse. Is there anybody here making money? No. Relievers, Espinoza, Galloway. Martins is only making 1.6. We got Ricky Hoff now on the team. There's really nobody to get rid of there. It just really is that big contract of Montana's. And then do we want to bring back Ray Nunez? The One True Home Run song. I'm probably going to bring it back. When you're switching to Torf. I'm trying to decide if I am. I am very tired. Do we bring back Chad Dean? Do we bring back somebody just because we can? To at least have them as an option. I mean, cap space isn't inherently an issue. That Rivas contract is looking bad, though. I'm going to leave these base offers that are out there. We'll see who accepts. Greg Lenzon is our pitching coach. Doug Hawkins goes to the Athletics. David Newell goes to the Red Sox. So we miss out on our manager, our first choice manager and first base coach, which is not ideal. We might be looking at bringing back Mark Pryor, or it's Mario Jones, who the Yankees are in for as the third base coach. Again, the fact you still can't sort by manager overall is pretty fucking stupid. It's got to be Mark Pryor if we can get him. Throw our name into the hat to bring him back. And then first base coach. I mean, Terrence Hayes is out there. See if we can throw our name into the hat for that one. Mark Pryor goes north of the border. Still nobody is signed. In terms of a manager, might as well go for Cedeno. No one else is in for him. He's not that bad. Still don't know what to do about Dean, Obama, and Nunez. Still don't know. Hayes goes to the Padres. My God, have we had trouble signing staff members. A lot of trouble. Let's go for Calvin Brown. Nobody else is in for this guy. He doesn't look that bad. Last day to make a decision. We have to qualify Jason Gill to make sure we don't lose him. Because of that, and the guaranteed money that'll be on the board, which now ups those pending offers to $53 million. We are removing the offer from Chad Dean. We are removing the offer from Obama, and we are removing the offer from Nunez. Because we still have other players to sign. So because Jason Gill didn't immediately sign, we will play it safe. And Chad Dean, number 44, Scott Obama, and catcher Ray Nunez will be released just to make sure that we are okay cap-wise on this team. So Chad Dean was always kind of a depth role. He only had 90 career games for us. Just had a lot of contract control up to age 35, but we're obviously good at third base. Scott Obama. 583 games as a Pirate, the 34-year-old. Career OPS of 721. No, once Obama's gone, he's gone. Career WAR of .7. And Ray Nunez never thought he'd become good enough to be our starting catcher, but 504 career games. But again, a career 646 OPS, never insane at the plate, but a career 6.1 WAR. A very serviceable player that we don't need to spend $3 to $4 million on. The decision's made. Because, yeah, we're still going to have some decisions to make here. Those will not be the last of the players that we look at potentially losing. Which is why we need the money. So Gary Dixon, arbitration is on the table. Pretty solid prior season. Not great overall. Wants 1 year at $3.9 million. I'd say that's fair. If he takes that, that's pretty fair. Just to see what he's got left. See if that one season was a fluke. And these other contracts that always take a while to go through. Can we save a good amount of money on Trujillo? Not really. It's $800K. Yeah, that's why I never bother with that. Got to sign everybody else. And, of course, we still don't know what happens with Montanez yet. It has almost been a week since we DFA'd him. I have a hunch he is not going to be claimed. Which means we are going to have a decision to make in terms of whether or not we have him on the roster in spring training and then DFA him again. If we do, just outright cut him. Get rid of these guys. They were just filler players. Jose Lima. Congrats to the Fishman. You're probably on the Major League roster this year. A lot could depend, too, on player development. It sucks because I think a big part of the reason as to why I don't want to get rid of people is because I don't want to have to sign so many free agents. At the same time, it's like you just never know. If you still have a guy on the roster, maybe he turns it around out of nowhere. But for a lot of these guys, we've seen them for long enough to know they're kind of mid at best, in a lot of ways. And we're at the point, I mean, God, 2041. We have to go with the best of the best in each spot to try and win us some damn games. So we will have to check the 40-man situation as well. But I do want an answer. Montanez has been placed on unconditional release waivers and removed from the roster. Other orgs will have 2 days to place claims. If he is not claimed, he'll become a free agent. Montanez is gone. It had to be done. It had to be done. But he's out of here. As tragic as that is, I'm not sure how much he still counts, if at all. Interestingly enough. We are going to have to check people for the Rule 5 as well. So I'm going to move over here. That way you guys can see along with me. So Hitoki Sato would be eligible for the Rule 5. He 100% has to be on the 40-man. Fodor would be eligible. He 100% has to be on the 40-man. Martin Lopez. Can't afford to lose any of these guys. First base. Henry Sixto. And Harvey Grove. Harvey Grove we're not as worried about. He sucks. He was a former catcher. Sixto, though, will eventually be a major leaguer. Just not a very good one. Like, he's not elite at anything. He'll just be a well-rounded first baseman. If we lose him, so be it. I don't think I can high prioritize him. Roger Reese is 28, so whatever. Carter's 28. Not worried too much about that. Third base, Ross Colon, I mean, whatever. Nobody at shortstop. Outfield. Nobody there. I did have a feeling it was going to be the majority pitchers, but we still have to check. All right, let's check relievers first. What do we have? Jose Lima, I mean, he's 36 and a 72, so whatever. And then in terms of outright relief pitchers, Hal Sabell, if we lose him, so be it. Is what it is. He's not a big deal. Boone Smooth. We definitely don't want to lose Boone. He's looking okay. There's Frank Christensen, who's terrible, whatever. And then these guys aren't ours. Send for the starters. Mario Lopez, I mean, he's 29 years old. If we lose him, whatever. Julius Slinger, honestly, same thing. I mean, these guys might be serviceable, but I'm not stressing enough. Maybe Casey Adeline. Ronaldo Garcia, the biggest bust of all time. There's quite a few of those starters that we could put on the 40-man that I'm not going to. If we lose them, so be it. We'll try to get away with not losing them. So with that, roster-wise, we're okay. Now we just wait for free agency. Calvin Brown rejects our offer as first base coach. We are having a bitch of a time. Let's go for Bill Evans. So the Rule 5 draft says Roderick Cedeno. Okay, Google it. This game's pissing me off, man. No one's signing here. Manager. Might have to be that Doug Lawson guy. Walter Costa certainly hurts the bunting, but adds to the drag bunting. Go figure. Royce Volat. Throw our name into the hat for Royce here. We have competition for Jason Gill, but again, if he were to sign elsewhere, we get compensation. We have competition for Diego Espinoza as well. We'll see what happens. And St. Louis, the St. Louis Pirates, they do it again. The Cardinals once more take a former Pirate as they claim Chris Montanez. Fine by me. That certainly means, right, that we're not on the hook for his contract. I mean, $19.4 million a season. So beautiful. Beautiful. They did do us a gigantic favor. I mean, I wanted Montanez to be him. He was not. Not in the slightest. Okay, we're still in the lead for those three. No arbitration to worry about. I got a couple of roster spots here. I want to at least add Adeline to the 40-man roster. Nothing too crazy in the news today. Except that Diego Espinoza is back. 1 down, 2 to go in terms of important free agents. We again miss out on a manager. And the Cardinals are in for Jason Gill. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know if we're getting in any road to the show tonight at this point. My God. All right, who the hell is our manager going to be? Catcher, take it easy, buddy. Could be Doug Lawson. Adds to drag bunting, which isn't necessarily ideal. But there's nobody else. So Doug. Dougie Doug, who has 2 pennants in his history. Come on down, buddy. Come on down. Still don't have an answer about Gill or Galloway. I don't know what Galloway is waiting for. Still got some players who haven't signed contracts yet. Doug Lawson's on as our manager. Thank God we got somebody. Part of me feels like he was our manager last year. All right, we're looking okay there. I agree, we are going to up the Gill offer because now we have $63 million to work with. He's proven to be worth it. Worst case, he's not. We'll go $15 million a year for 5 years with that player option on year 5. It's not that much more expensive. Jason Gill instead accepts the qualifying offer. So he will only be back guaranteed for 1 more season at $23.6 million. But at the very least, he's back. Not the worst case scenario. As again, we miss out on a third base coach. Jesus Christmas. I have never, or first base coach, I have never had this much trouble signing staff members. My God. See if Miguel Dolan wants to come here. And he does. So there we go. Staff-wise, we're finally good. No arbitration to worry about. We still have a couple other contracts to worry about. For the most part, now we're fine. We just wait for these other offers to go through. Brian Crum, the multi-time reliever of the year, goes to the now back-to-back champion Rays. So glad to know the Rays just got better. Howie Galloway, we're still waiting. And Casey Adline, we're still waiting. There is competition for Howie. We're going to up the deal. Going to go 11. Let's go $10.5 million a year with the player option. To try and keep Howie, it would be rather devastating to lose him now. We're going to have to offer Adline more money. Worth it, though. Galloway is back as well. So we don't lose anybody in free agency. I mean, we let go of like Scott Obama and players like that. We lose Montanez, but not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. 40-man roster. Charles Spencer was terrible last year, so we'll remove him. If he gets claimed, so be it. He was dreadful last year. Oh, Lewis Courtney is a free agent. Former Pirate, Lewis Courtney, who has no offers on him after 4 years in Minnesota. Now 36 years old. I'm sure he'll sign somewhere. But we're going to go up to the Rule 5. We just got to see if we're going to lose anybody. We did leave a couple of players available. And we do lose a couple of them. We lost a couple of middle-of-the-pack starters. Nobody overly important. AJ, we lost in the playoffs again. And thank you. We had fun with that podcast. We lose Mario Lopez, the 29-year-old. And we lose Julius Slinger, the 28-year-old. I was a little bit worried about leaving him available, but it is what it is. So, as expected, when you have a good competitive team, you are eventually going to have some players step away. Juan Guerrero, the former Pirate, on his way to the Royals for 2 years. Went from having a chance to be our franchise player to a bit of a journeyman. Lewis Courtney on his way to Seattle. Not bad, Lewis. Not bad. Enjoy that money. You were good for us. So we get to the off season. Through the off season, we get to spring training. And this is a good time to stop because I think I'm going to go through this roster. And there is a very, very good chance of this team being drastically different by the time we come back tomorrow night. Certain players just being off the roster. Maybe moving other players, seeing like, oh, turns out Pablo would actually be better at third base. He won't be, but as an example, I mean, obviously, like Israel Gutierrez will probably be our full-time second baseman. But yeah, there are some moves to make. We just lost Scott Obama, finally. It's a shame. I'm surprised we were able to keep him for that long. But we do still have good prospects. We do still have some pretty damn good players. Charles Rivas might be the next guy who gets DFA'd for us in the future. Yeah, Obama got impeached. He did not. Would never. Would never. But that is our pitching staff for this year. It might be a little bit weaker on paper, but got to cut the dead weight, even if they have the overall, you know? Got to do what we got to do. So I will take a look at this team, try to have it fully set up for next time, and we'll see where we're at, but it's a bit of a weird spot to be in.